Okay, well, let's start with you. How are you doing? How was your week? How was your practice?
This week was good. I was able to get 20 minutes all every day actually. I figured it was actually better when I did it in the morning.
Yes.
Um, and I was pretty consistent with it. Um, Towards the end of the week, it was a little harder to stay focused. But I definitely was kind of more aware. Uh,
And what we need to do is we do it and don't judge the efficacy of a meditation session.
Mhm.
The reason is the metaphor that you oftentimes hear is it's like peeling an onion. So oftentimes the meditations that seem to be most problematic, oh, my mind's so noisy and all these feelings and thoughts, those are the most beneficial because it's not about superimposing peace on my agitated mind. It's like allowing the agitation that's already there to come up and out. Does that make sense?
It does.
So even though it seems like a difficult practice session, don't judge it. Just, okay, stuff is being released. Don't judge, just be present to it, see it, let it go.
I think the thing that we talked about last time was the discrimination between, uh, you know, who it's happening to
Yes.
and who's experiencing. I found that I was more intentional about asking that question,
Yeah.
particularly when I felt like I needed to hurry up and things, get somewhere, get something done. And I did think that that put things into perspective. It didn't ease. I still had to get things done, but it eased my anxiety
Yeah.
about the whole situation.
Yes. And even when anxiety arises, it's just a mind state. It's always in front of me.
Yes.
And always remember all mind states are temporary. Frequently, we don't need to do anything about them. In 20 minutes, they're past. And then your nose itches, or you've got to cook dinner, or you're watching a TV show. The mind is constantly changing.
Yep.
Good work. Now, it's been uh, 8 weeks. Have you seen any qualitative change in your serenity, your overall mood with,
I think so. I definitely think so. I just feel more resilient on a day-to-day basis.
excellent?
I don't think it's changed the amount of work I have to do, the stress.
No, that stuff won't change. No.
Yeah, but I do feel more resilient.
I like that word. Sometimes when we have a word like detached, it makes us feel like, oh, I'm shut down or numb or kind of dead feeling.
Mhm.
But I like resilient. I'm going to shamelessly steal that
Go for it. Yeah.
because that's the feeling. The world can go by and I'm resilient through it. I like that. I like. How about you, Daryl?
Um, I struggled with consistency this week of all the weeks on the last week of the course. Um, the previous weeks I had done it first thing in the morning, and obviously it's much easier and more productive, I guess you could say. And then for whatever reason, this last week I probably only meditated twice. And I kind of got into the mind states of, oh, if I didn't do it in the morning, I'm not going to do it now because I have to eat, or something's going to happen and I'm not going to be in an ideal position to do it. So I'll just do it tomorrow morning. And I let that kind of affect my consistency, unfortunately. But if you were to ask me the same question that you just asked Bhavna, I do feel that overall, probably through uh, the duration of the course, I've been less quick to anger, which is a good thing, as far as just not being affected by outside circumstances as much, and also slightly more resilient as well to those outside circumstances.
What I have found useful is to remember yoga's definition of anger:
Mhm.
thwarted desire, unmet expectation.
Mhm.
It's a spiritual axiom that if I'm disturbed, no matter the cause, I'm the one with the klesha, the defilement.
Yeah.
I'm the one with the attachment, the expectation,
Yeah,
the identification. It's never, ever, ever out there.
yeah, and that is something I came across with just analyzing myself, was the frustration when expectations aren't met. And it just, I realized it's just over and over and over again, falling in the same trap. Oh, I'm upset. Oh, now I'm not upset. And now I have another expectation. And then it's just, I'm upset again. It's the expectation that ultimately just makes me fall in the trap every single time.
You got it. And one of the things that's useful in our relationships with people, now this language, this framework, I've again shamelessly stolen from the EST training of all things, going back to the early 70s. So an expectation is one-sided. When I have an expectation on another person, they haven't agreed to anything. Now, an agreement means the other person is involved. You know, I'd like to serve dinner at 6 this evening. Does that work for you? That's old S language. You know, and if the other person says, oh no, I won't be home from work by then, or oh no, I'm going to go to a ball game, stuff like that, then you negotiate. You come to an agreement. But if it's just one-sided, doesn't he know that dinner's always ready at 6? Then you're setting yourself up for resentment.
Mhm.
Now, when you or I break an agreement, this is an interesting piece of spiritual psychology. Werner used to call this a perpetration. I don't know why he used that word. I think it's a psychological term. I've hurt or harmed the other person. And if I don't clean it up, I will continue to perpetrate against that person until I do. So not only does the other person have a resentment, but I will resent the person I've hurt and harmed. Of course, the classic example of this is you were supposed to meet so and so for coffee and you've totally forgotten, you didn't show. And so what do? Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I can't call that person and tell them, and you just let it slide. Any of us ever done something like that?
Mhm.
You see. So the suggestion is when, not if, when we fall short and don't show up as a person of our word. Remember when we went through the yamas and niyamas, that satyam, that truthfulness, that integrity. Own it. Tell the other person, acknowledge it, take responsibility, and do your best to apologize, to rectify it, make an amend, clean it up. And if we move through life with broken agreement after broken agreement after broken agreement, we get isolated. I don't think anybody in this particular class has issues with that. But other people do. Other people do. All right, online. Soumya, you're next. I think you're muted. Can't hear her. So we'll go on
Yeah,
to,
I just,
there you are. There you
yeah,
are.
it's, I just can't handle doing the talking right now because I'm too far away from the computer and everything.
All right, so
Yeah.
we'll let you pass.
Okay, thank
You, how about you?
you.
I was meditating every day because I was feeling under the weather, and so I was doing a lot of either the just simple observing the breath or trying to discriminate between the real and the unreal when I was feeling better. And um, I thing I've noticed both in the last week and more broadly over the last few weeks was like a lot more ability, equanimity, yeah, with all the physical discomfort of being of feeling poorly, which has been like a nice, pleasant surprise. Like I didn't realize how much of the discomfort was resistance to the discomfort.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, not that it's like still the most fun thing in the world, but I'm increasingly able to just like watch, like, oh yeah, there's like like, some nauseous feeling and let that just flow through experience and increasingly. And I don't have to like it, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. And so that's sort of been that's made, feeling under the weather a lot more tolerable. Yeah, so a lot more resilient, to use the word of the day, which is perfect.
This is good news. This is good news. All right. Well, let's sit for 20 minutes now, and I won't do guided meditation. I'll let you be in silence and see how you do. Okay. Oh, Namah Shivaya. Om. 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 So this morning is our last lesson in this class. So the subject matter for this morning is seeing the self in and through the phenomenal world, all the names and forms. But before we get into that, I want to review some of the most important practices that I want to leave you with. On the very first lesson, we went through what is the cause of suffering. And I think the clearest paradigm for this is the teaching of the Buddha. They call this the Buddha's first turning of the wheel of Dharma. It was his very first teaching. And there are four noble truths. Practice makes no sense unless we understand these. Noble truth number one, dukkha satya, the truth of suffering. Life, the way most of us live it, is filled with suffering. I'm restless, irritable, discontent. I don't have what I want. My body doesn't work. My partner doesn't behave. The politics aren't right. I'm having financial challenges. The Buddha went through going around the world and he saw old age, sickness, and death, which is the truth of everyone's suffering. All we have to do is pick up the newspaper. Noble truth number two, samudaya satya. Samudaya means arising. What is the cause of suffering? My mind, steeped in ignorance, thinks I'm unhappy because I don't have what I want. If only the world were different, or if only I were different, it'd all be better. And what Buddhism says and yoga, no, the cause of my suffering, sangraha, attachment, kama, craving, dvesha, aversion, bhaya, fear. So what we need to look at is, where is happiness? What is it that has happiness as its dharma? Dharma means the essence of something, the nature of something. For example, it is the dharma of water to be wet. Everybody experiences wetness in water. It's the dharma of fire to burn. Everybody experiences burning in fire. It's the dharma of sugar to be sweet. We all experience sweetness and sugar. Dharma can also move through time and space. So it's the dharma of a river to flow from a higher elevation to a lower one. If it isn't flowing, it's a lake. If it's frozen, it's a glacier. If it's moving from a higher elevation to a lower elevation, it's a river. And what we have to acknowledge is people's tastes are different. Some people like a good steak. Other people go, ugh. Some people like pickled herring. Other people go, ugh, that's awful. Some of us like kimchi. Other people go, ugh. Some people like a skinny partner. Other people like a full-figured partner. So what we know from our direct experience is what we like differs from person to person. But the fact of our direct experience is, whatever it is that I have determined that I like, when I get it, I have a little hit of joy, happiness, peace, satisfaction. Any questions about this? Which leads us to noble truth number 3, Nirodha Satya. Nirodha means the cessation or the binding back, literally. It is the cessation of the craving that brings me happiness. It's the wanting itself that is my suffering, not the absence of my object of desire. So Donald Trump wants a $400 million airplane. Bhavna, would you like a $400 million airplane?
We're nowhere to park it.
Yeah. It could be right here. No attachment, no attraction. So the suffering doesn't come from the presence or the absence of objects. Suffering comes when I'm wanting, when I'm craving. And what is bhaya? Bhaya is always the future. I may have what I want, but I'm afraid I won't get it. Or even if I don't have what I want, I'm afraid something catastrophic will happen. So, noble truth number 3, freedom from the craving is freedom from suffering. Now, we prove this every night? Who slept well last night, or at least part of the night? Where did your problems go in deep sleep? Gone? Completely gone. So no object causes the bliss of deep sleep. In fact, it's the absence of the jonesing, the craving mind. I was talking with my little brother this morning, and he's in his early 70s, and he's been a smoker most of his adult life. He's pretty much quit, but one of the side effects is his vascular system is totally shot. So he has another blocked artery in his leg. He's had several of these, incredibly painful. Oxycodone. His speech was a little slurred this morning when I called him. But what happened? The suffering went away. His leg isn't fixed. The oxycodone just got rid of the suffering, the aversion, the pain. So we experience freedom from the craving in deep sleep. Technical term for this is vasanananda, the bliss of pure vasanas or pure ignorance. We get a little hit, a little squirt of happiness when we satisfy a desire. Vishayananda, the bliss that we experience through sense objects. But those are always temporary. And the more it pleased us, the more we're impelled to want to repeat it or get more of it. So noble truth number 4, Marga Satya. Marga means path or road. Is there a way to be permanently free from suffering? And the Buddha thundered, yes. He called it his eightfold path. We would call it sadhana, our spiritual practice. So all the new agey people who are into manifesting, they still think getting what I want will make me happy. I just now have a spiritual tool, a metaphysical tool that works better to get what I want. And it never deals with the phenomenon of craving, of wanting itself. So the bhogi, B-H-O-G-I, bhogi, practices boga. The bhogi has a view of the world that I want happiness by getting as many of the objects of desire as possible. The problem is the end result is more desire. It's like the person who sees the fire starting in the forest and saying, oh, the fire is hungry. I think I'll give it more fuel. That will get rid of the fire. No. And it ends up with more attachment, more craving. Now, the yogi practices yoga. Comes from the Sanskrit root yuj, which means to join. Understand clearly. It doesn't mean my individual self gets joined to the infinite. A lot of people think that. No, you already are the infinite. What happens is my ulcerated, craving, stupid mind gets yoked to the self. Brahmananda. I experience the bliss of my own self nature. Atmaramana. I revel in the self. Or that wonderful term that Vidyaranya uses, Brahmananda Rasa Swad. Swad means to taste. Rasa means juice. So tasting the juice of the bliss of my own self nature, independent of external circumstances. Without a clear understanding of this, the practice of yoga gets confused. Now, those of us who've studied Shankara's Vivekachudamani, there's one verse that's kind of leading up to the qualifications of a fit student, where Shankara says the person who has a clear understanding of the world outside and a knowledge of the world inside, who can argue for the scriptures and refute arguments against them, is fit. What does this mean? Clear understanding of the world outside. We need to have been kicked in the teeth a bit by the world to get a clear understanding of what the world can give and what it can't. As long as we still live in material fantasy, if only, then it would all be okay. If only, a lot of young people have this one. The problem in my life is I just don't have the right job, the one that gives me meaning and purpose and direction in life. If I just had that job, then it would all be better. And they don't understand. Guess what? A job's a job. Now, it's better if it's something you enjoy most of the time, or at least some of the time. It's better if you're useful. It's better if you're not harming yourself for the world. But that's not the answer to all the problems of existence. It's a job. Oh, I can't wait till I retire. I finally made my first million. Now I can just, sit on the beach and drink Mai Tais. That gets really boring. It's really boring. All sorts of fantasies. Oh, if only I found the right partner and got married. I know you two both have significant or insignificant others. Is that the answer to all the problems of existence? Yes, no?
Absolutely not.
How about you?
No.
I would love to tell the story when my boss, Father Mark, was blessing this couple who were celebrating 60 years of marriage. And he asked, have you ever thought of divorce? Good Catholic couple. And the wife thinks for a moment. She says, divorce? No. Murder? Yes. Can you identify?
Yep.
Yeah. It's just different. And that's with anything in the world. The Christian, Saint Augustine, had a very famous saying, thou hast made us for thyself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it finds its rest in thee. But it can take us lifetimes to figure that out. So if you get nothing else from this class, hopefully you will internalize yoga's teaching about the cause of our suffering. Once we get a clear understanding of that, we begin to develop the desire to be free from desire. We develop the desire to realize the self. This is called mumukshutva, the burning desire for freedom. And that leads us into the two main practices in our tradition. Viveka, Vairagya cha. Cha means and, by the way. Viveka, discrimination, the firm conviction in the intellect that Brahman, consciousness, the self, alone is real, and that the phenomenal world, the Jagat, is unreal. It's called discrimination between the real and the unreal. It has a beginning and an end. If it occurs in time and space, if it has qualities or characteristics, if it's confined to the waking, dream, or deep sleep state. Most importantly, if I can see it as an object of cognition, gross meaning it's a physical object, subtle meaning it's a feeling or a thought, it is not self. Let it go. Which leads us to vairagya, that desire. Interesting. It's a desire that gets rid of desire. To give up attachment to all experiences gained through the senses. We can either give them up through insight. No, I've seen what heroin does to people. I don't need to go play that game. Or through direct experience. I banged my head against the wall to try to change the world, change myself, fix this, fix that. And I see that it only makes me miserable. Then I develop the desire to give up my attachment to it. And the desire to let go of my identification with any personal sense of self, starting with the body, going back to the first exercise, Viveka. I am not the body, I'm the knower of the body. Up to and including the form of Brahma, Shankara says. Brahma means the creator God. Basically, it means giving up any notion that I'm going to be happy if I feel important or powerful. All we have to do is look at our current president, the most powerful man in the world. And whether you agree with his policies or not, just look at his face. He's so filled with anger. He's an insomniac. He confesses, I'm a greedy man. There's just never enough. And antithetically, look up at the face of Ramana Maharshi. Who lived so simply and reveled in the self. One can just get lost into looking into that man's face. There's a man who has santosha, true contentment. Now, it doesn't mean having cash and prizes is bad. We, in the scriptures, always talk about King Janaka, that's Sita's father. Man of great realization. But his karma was to be a king, so he did his kingly duties. He fought his wars, he governed his kingdom, he acquired wealth, took care of his many, many wives. Stita, steady, wisdom. The Master Jesus said it this way: my kingdom is not of this world. I am in the world, but not of it. Viveka Vairagya cha. Discrimination and detachment. Let go, let go, let go, and keep our hearts open. Any thoughts on this review of the important material that we've covered? Going once, going twice. Okay. So, our lesson for today is seeing the self in and through the phenomenal world. For some people who study the Vedanta, usually on their own, and they have had these glimpses, they've had silence for moments in their meditation, which is wonderful. And with the introversion of the attentive faculty in the space between their thoughts, they see, oh, I am that Chidakasha, that space of pure awareness. I got it. I'm realized. Let's go. And all of a sudden they find, I'm angry at so and so, and how dare you treat me that way? What? I thought this was supposed to fix all that stuff. And that's a good beginning. So there are 3 questions we must resolve for ourselves. These three questions, that particular frame comes from Yoga Vasishta. And I'm fond of that text, so I use its particular framing. Question 1, who am I? That's the one that comparatively easy to get a sense of. I am witnessing consciousness. I'm not a solid individual person. But the second question is, what is this world? And the third question is, how has it come about? Because that's what tends to bother me, is the people, places, things of this world. Now, to get an insight into what the Vedanta teaches, we have to reconcile two apparently contradictory statements. The first, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real, exists, is true. Jagat, the phenomenal world, is mithya, literally a lie. It's illusion. Now, some teachers will start people off saying nitya means conditioned reality. Just like clay is the same in bowls, vases, and cups. Bowl, vase, and cups is clay appearing as bowl, vase, and cup. It's conditioned clay. But the scriptural statement really says mithya, illusion. Mithya, false. Mithya, a lie. We'll get into that. Then the other scriptural statement comes from Chandogya Upanishad. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Sarvam Idam literally means all this. It's shop talk. When you see that statement in the scriptures, all this, it means the entire phenomenal world, all the objects, all the emotions, all the thoughts. Kalu means verily. So the statement says all this verily is Brahman, is consciousness. Well, make up your mind. Is it illusion or is it consciousness? Is it all a lie or is it God? Yes. So understanding this deeply helps us develop the vairagya, the detachment that allows us to dial down our reactivity to the world. Now, if you want to get the scriptural basis of what today's lesson is, there's a very famous Upanishad called the Mandukya Upanishad. It's the most subtle. It's only 12 mantras, but it's traditionally studied with a gloss. Gloss is a little more terse than a commentary. It's called a karika. Karika is different than a bhashya. Bhashya is a commentary. by a fellow by the name of Gaudapada. Gaudapada had a student named Govindapada. Govindapada had a student named Shankara. So the gloss is written by Shankara's grandfather Guru. So it dates probably from maybe the 600s. We date Shankara 788 to 820. So 600s, maybe early 700s. We don't know.
80,
Hmm?
80.
AD, yes. Yes. So 1300, 1400 years ago. The Upanishad itself is much older, but Gaudapada's gloss is much later. So what Gaudapada does is he uses our direct experience of the dream state to give us an understanding of what's going on here. So in Vedanta, the scriptures say that the phenomenal world comes about sankalpena, by means of imagination. You reenact this process every night when you have a dream. You are the God of your dream. So what happens when you dream? The first thing that happens is you go to bed and you fall asleep. We can say sleep is mini Maya. It's a personal experience of my waking state mind, just all folded up into pure ignorance. The essence of deep sleep is the non-apprehension of myself as the waker. I forget I am Jim in my bed. Then what does the mind do? The technical term is vikshepa shakti. Vikshepa, the root is kshipati, which means to throw or like hurl a spear. The mind goes, ta-da! And the dream happens. And the characteristic of the dream is I have a dream body, which is a locus of perception. I peep out of the dream body at a dream world. Sometimes we have kind of a omnipresent view in a dream where I'm looking down at my dream body functioning. But mostly I'm in the dream body and I have an ego identified with it. It's me. That's very interesting. Most of the time when I dream, I can see perfectly, and I'm not fat, and I have plenty of energy. And if you have similar experiences,
Mhm.
and then there's a dream world out there of name and form. And I have reactions to that world. I have thoughts and feelings. I have an interior life in the dream. Is this clear to you? Do you have the same experience?
Mhm.
Every element of the dream is my mind. So if I go outside and the sun is shining and I have a prism, and underneath the prism I have a piece of white paper, the sunlight strikes the prism and it refracts the sunlight into the spectrum. Get a rainbow on the piece of white paper. Ever play with this as kids?
Yeah.
This is what happens. Consciousness strikes the subtle intellect, and refracts into what we call the triple factor, the triple P. Knower, knowing, and know. It's so clear in the dream state. My one unified mind becomes the dreamer, who's the knower of the dream state. The dreaming, I see, hear, taste, touch, smell, feel, think in the dream. The dream objects, gross and subtle, that I perceive. The horses, the cars, the etc. And my reactions. Oh, I'm so frightened. Or, oh, that's so much fun. But the truth is, even though to the dreamer me, it seems very real, I never question the reality of it when I'm dreaming. I only know that it's a dream and unreal when I wake up. All this comes about in the same way. Now, the big philosophical question is, who's doing the dreaming? Short answer is God. So if the three of us die, the speed of light doesn't change. Black holes at the center of the galaxy don't change in a bit. Those are the imaginations of the infinite. And what's so interesting is physics is getting closer and closer to this notion. Probably the experiment that I can understand, it's done decades ago now, that if you shine light through like this little narrow slit and you measure it, you observe it, it acts like a particle, photons. But if you don't observe it, it acts like energy with waves, and it knows when you're looking at it. So it is the fact of knowing it that makes it material. The quantum physicists are not now saying that matter at its smallest level is just probability.
Mhm.
But when it's observed, it behaves like matter. Vedanta says it is the cognition of awareness that brings about the phenomenal world. That third question, how does it all come about? Sankalpa, by means of imagination. Now, there are two layers of imagination. First, there's the imagination of the infinite. Now, do I have time for this? Yes. So, one of the things that's very interesting, if you come from the Judeo-Christian or the Abrahamic religions, we look to Genesis 1:1. How does God create the world in Genesis? Who remembers? You were Jehovah's Witness, right?
Yeah,
Did they read the Old Testament?
yes, I don't remember, I know it was done in the
And
seventies.
God said,
Let there be light, yes.
said, okay. Now, in Sanskrit, we have a word called mantra. It's not pronounced mantra or even mantra, mantra. It's a compound. The first part, man, comes from manas, which means mind. The second part, tra, means a vehicle. So a mantra or speech itself is a vehicle for the mind. So the mantra, if you really understand it, when God speaks the world into creation, it's a vehicle for mind. Sankalpena, by means of imagination. I'm convinced that Genesis 1:1 is the description of someone returning from nirvikalpa samadhi. Same thing with the prologue to John, the Gospel to John. The whole point is the infinite, by its complete free will, by its Maya Shakti, brings all this about through its own imagination, its own potentiality. One of the words in Sanskrit we have for this creative process is Hiranyagarbha. Who's heard this term before? Means the golden egg. It's the total mind, the potentiality of any thought that can be thought in past, present, or future, which is the creative process of the infinite. Now, there's a second creative process, which is what you and I do. So the first thing that happens is God's creative process doesn't work just at us and to us, but as us and through us. So if you've ever created anything, so I can remember a couple months ago, I was over at Vinayak's and Bhavna's and that wonderful little patio down, beside the little guest house. What do you call that in your home?
We just call it the backyard.
But it's wonderful. There's tables and there's trees and birds and stuff like that. It's absolutely gorgeous. Was that there when you moved in?
Mm-mm.
Who had the idea?
I did.
And that became matter. Right there. That was your sankalpa. So all creative effort in the world comes about by means of sankalpa. So that's one understanding. In a sense, we participate in the creative process. And there's another level of sankalpa. I superimpose value judgments on God's universe. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Is the speed of light good or bad, right or wrong, just or unjust?
This is.
It just is. Well, what about the politician I don't like? What about the behavior of some people in my life? See, upon what is, I then have a secondary superimposition. Good and bad, just or unjust, right or wrong, virtuous or vicious, desirable or aversive. That becomes the world I create. And there's enormous implication to this. Because my habituated thought life creates my experience of an inherently neutral world. So if I spend all morning gloom and doom, oh, the world is terrible, we're all gonna, be, we should be afraid, oh, it's just terrible out there, crime and violence, and the economy's gonna collapse. And not only that, people are terrible. Then that becomes the world I see. But if we're practicing Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, all this is God. It's just name and form. It's just consciousness appearing as name and form. And God never leaves its swabhav, its being, its nature. And the great Mahatmas who deeply penetrated into this, the world for them is very different. I think again of Ramana Maharshi. When wild animals would come to him, he had no fear in his heart. So there was nothing for the beings to be afraid of. In the Christian tradition, we have Saint Francis of Assisi, who had this incredible connection with all of life. So this implies a practice of endeavoring to turn down my judgment, my reactivity. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real. The phenomenal world is illusory. It's like a rainbow. It's like the castle in the clouds. Seen, but not real. What's really here? God, who never leaves its nature. Sat, pure existence. Chit, sentience. Ananda, love absolute. So the practice, everything is gift. Everything is God. And again, the Master Jesus said, resist not evil. Love your enemies. Even the Gentiles love their friends. I say, love your enemy. Return good for evil. All these practices. Gita says, seeing a leaf a flower, a lump of earth, a piece of gold, all is the same. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, Sarvam Idam Kalu Brahman. All this is verily God. This is the practice that allows us to begin to see the self in and through the world and to understand where the names and forms come from. All right, it's noon. We be done. Thank you for a wonderful class. And as I mentioned before we started, there seems to be a desire for those who wish to continue to meet on another time. So we will probably have the next class. The follow-on class for this is Atma Bodha, knowledge of the self. This time we'll dive into a real scripture. And that will probably take place Monday nights after the first of the year. I'm available through the holidays. You want to call and talk, you want to come over, have coffee or tea, I'm here. I am your servant. All right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.